Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art and culture, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. So this is one of those weeks on Billboard Breakdown that can be draining for me to talk about, mostly because it's easy but time-consuming to explain this at length. I mean, to put it simply, if you look at the Hot 100, a full half of it, 50 songs, advanced 10 positions or more. We've got a ton of returning entries and a full slate of 14 new arrivals. And no, there was not an album bomb you missed. No, as I said, I can explain this fairly easily. Along with the album bomb from 21 Savage last week drying up, all the Christmas music exited the chart, and a lot of older music this week picked up radio spins thanks to year-end countdowns. And given that there was no big releases to plug in the gap, the flood of music in order to replace it, it's all over the damn place, and really shows no indication of what could last long-term, because I don't expect it'll be a lot of this. And on top of that, in what might seem to many like the biggest story of this week, we've got a new number one, Without Me by Halsey. And look, I get why it's here. It's consistently strong across the board, although never quite dominant in any one category, and its momentum does not seem to be slowing down. Shame that it's terrible. Yeah, increased exposure to Halsey's dreck hasn't made it any better, as I think she somehow hit the sweet spot of actually justifying a criticism often made at the expense of Taylor Swift, strip-mining her own personal drama that nobody cares about for points regardless of her self-awareness, and with limited charisma and vocal chops to boot. At least Taylor Swift sounds a little better than she does. I mean, I didn't even like Thank You Next by Ariana Grande that much, which fell off to number 2 this week on sales and not enough radio gains despite some stronger streaming, but I'd take her over Halsey any day. Now, what will likely have a bigger shot for the next number 1 is Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee up to number 3, which is dominant on sales with big streaming and real radio traction, and given how well the new Spider-Man movie is doing in awards season, justifiably so, it's a great movie, it could well make a play for number 1. Hell, it jumped over Sicko Mo by Travis Scott holding at number 4, which might still be dominant on streaming, but spent the week wavering on the radio and lost sales. It could likely be on the way out right now. Then at number 5, defying all of my expectations, High Hopes by Panic at the Disco picked up a slot on solid sales on the radio that just will not die. And along those exact same lines, except just slightly behind, Happier by Marshmello and Bastille rose up to number 6. But of course, since the Christmas songs are all gone, something had to rise to replace them in the top 10, so we got the entirely unwelcome return of Girls Like You by Maroon 5 featuring Cardi B at number 7, mostly due to a tremendous second wind on the radio that only started to sputter out by the end of this week. Good, I didn't expect it to last, and thank God for it. And really, the last 3 of these songs are also returns to the top 10 that we probably should have left behind in 2018, mostly thanks to streaming is why they're here. Drip Too Hard by Lil Baby and Gunna's up to number 8, ZZ by Kodak Black featuring Offset and Travis Scott is up to number 9, and riding off of whatever dying airplay it has left, we've got Better Now by Post Malone at number 10. And really, as soon as we get any competition for these that's real, all this is going to be gone, and for good riddance. But really, the top 10 isn't quite the biggest story of this week. Sorry, Halsey. But no, we gotta look at our gains and our returning entries. We can knock out the losses and dropouts pretty fast. It's all Christmas music and 21 Savage, with the only real loss on the charts coming for 21 Savage, it's with All My Friends down to 97. But with the rest of this... Okay, let's get the returning entries out of the way first, most of which I don't really expect will last in the face of the next album bomb to come in the next couple of weeks, but we'll see where things go. So, Ocean Eyes by Billie Eilish is back at 99, Whoa, Mind in Awe by XXXTentacion hit 96, Lucky You by Eminem featuring Joyner Lucas is somehow back at 94, awesome, Good Form by Nicki Minaj featuring Lil Wayne rose up to 89, Dip by Nicki Minaj and Tyga hit 88, Nuketown by Ski Mask the Slump God and Juice WRLD crashed back at 85, Kika by 6ix9ine and Tory Lanez is back at 84, Why? Close Friends by Lil Baby returned to 81, Blue Tacoma by Russell Dickerson hit 79, seriously, we could have left this guy in 2018 too, Yosemite by Travis Scott hit 77, again, Why? Pure Cocaine by Lil Baby slipped back at 72, Millionaire by Chris Stapleton surged up to 69, did not see that one coming, Smile, Living My Best Life by Lil Duval featuring Snoop Dogg and Ball Greasy came back at 67, and finally, Electricity by Silk City, Dua Lipa, Diplo, and Mark Ronson made a big return at 62. But now for our gains. Folks, there are 50 of them. I could save time by listing all the songs that didn't rise this week, but I do want to set the scene for the Hot 100, so where we're going now, so let's just rattle through these. And let's start off with the gains from the debuts of last week, where we did see Wow by Post Malone rise up to 13, told you this would be a hit, but also Swervin' by A Boogie with the Hoodie and 6ix9ine rise up to 38. And on the topic of A Boogie, we also saw a continued gain for Look Back At It up to 54, which that song actually says something pretty interesting, really, because the production's pretty good. Then all the gains we saw from so many losers last week. Fine China by Juice WRLD and Future at 74, Lost in Japan by Shawn Mendes and Zed up to 71, El Quiere Beber by Anuel AA and Romeo Santos to 64, No Stylist by French Montana and Drake at 60, You by Jacques Keys at 59, Calling My Spirit by Kodak Black at 58, This Is It by Scotty McCreery making huge gains at 57, Armed and Dangerous by Juice WRLD rebounding to 56, and Arms Around You by XXXTentacion, Lil Pump, Maluma, and Sway Lee to 55. Then we had Last Shot by Kit Moore at 53, Girl Like You by Jason Aldean at 52, This Feeling by the Chainsmokers and Kelsey Ballerini to 50, Nothing Breaks Like a Heart by Mark Ronson and Miley Cyrus at 49, It's Got Radio Traction, Please Make It a Hit, Good Girl by Dustin Lynch surging to 47, Burning Man by Dierks Bentley and Brothers Osborne to 45, Talk to Me by Tory Lanez and Rich the Kid up to 43, 16 by Thomas Rhett to 42, Drunk Me by Mitchell Tenpenny to 39, yuck, Better by Khalid up to 30, Beautiful by Bozzy featuring Camila Cabello at 28, Love Lies by Normani and Khalid at 27, and finally, Going Bad by Meek Mill featuring Drake hit 21. But we're still not done here, as Lovely by Billie Eilish and Khalid rose to 73, When the Party's Over by Billie Eilish rose up to 68, please make this her year, she's so talented, Envy Me by Cowboy rose up to 66, Consequences by Camila Cabello went to 51, Beautiful Crazy by Luke Combs spiked to 48, Dangerous by Meek Mill featuring PNB Rock and Jeremiah rose to 46, Backing It Up by Partisan Fontaine featuring Cardi B bumped up to 46, Sweet But Psycho by Ava Max surged to 41, This'll Be a Hit folks, put money on it, Be Alright by Dean Lewis rose up to 40, and Best Shot by Jimmy Allen rose up to 37. Then Uproar by Lil Wayne hit 35, You Say by Lauren Daigle spiked to 34, Close to Me by Ellie Goulding, Diplo, and Sway Lee rose to 33, She Got the Best of Me by Luke Combs moved to 31, good week for him here too, I Like It by Cardi B featuring Bad Bunny and J Balvin rebounded to 26, Natural by Imagine Dragons hit 25, and Speechless by Dan and Shay hit 24. And then Trip by LMA stumbled up to 23, Leave Me Alone by Flip De Niro hit 22, MIA by Bad Bunny featuring Drake rose up to 20, he might have gotten some of the album boost but more on that later, Taki Taki by DJ Snake featuring Selena Gomez, Ozuna, and Cardi B rose up to 19, Youngblood by 5 Seconds of Summer hit 14, Eastside by Benny Blanco, Halsey, and Khalid spiked to 11, and I've already talked about Better Now, and finally, Shallow by Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper rose to 29. And honestly, I just hope to see this song stick around just long enough to become a hit. Can we make that happen, please? But now, we got 14 new arrivals. Well, okay, 13 new songs and one thing that we'll have to address appropriately. But before we get to that, number 100, I Don't Wanna Be You Anymore by Billie Eilish.
Swimming pools filled by models, told a tight dress is what makes you a whore.
So if you've noticed a trend in the past few months of Billboard Breakdown, it's that I've become a pretty big booster for Billie Eilish, and I'm going to continue to pay a lot of attention to how this debut album will roll out. But in the meantime, we got yet another old single from her 2017 EP, and honestly, while I like it, it's got some of the same problems as older Billie Eilish songs have in that, while it sounds really well composed and layered and fairly well written in an exploration of her insecurities, with a very prominent Lana Del Rey influence in the 3/4 cadence and her cooing delivery, it just doesn't quite have that same unstable, glassy bite that gives her newest song some real cutting power. It's definitely a really good song, for sure, and definitely the right sort of song that'll convince label executives to throw piles of money behind her artistic development, but it's not quite one of my favorites from her. Still really good though. Check it out. Number 98, Make It Sweet by Old Dominion.
Find a road we've never seen. Don't waste another mile or a minute not kissing me. Life is short, make it sweet.
Alright, so look, when I first covered the breakthrough of Old Dominion years back, I could not stand this band. Sure, they could write a decent hook, but the lyrics and production just stank to high heavens, and while they've been steadily getting better, I have yet to be all that impressed. And then we get to this. well, I'll say it, the production has gotten markedly better since their first two albums, and that bouncy, more organic groove playing off the prominent guitar lines and produced by Shane McAnally, it's exactly the right sort of pivot for this band going forward. I don't know, something's still not quite clicking for me here. For one, the lyrics still feel very overwritten and yet increasingly empty beyond, hey, don't waste your time, let's just make out. But I think my problem might be more with the frontman, Matthew Ramsey, and that he's a serviceable singer, but just doesn't have the same sort of magnetism to match the brighter production and the bouncier hook. You need a lot of natural warmth and charisma to make such airheaded songs rise to real quality for me, and I'm not quite sure I'm getting that with this song. Still, the band is continuing to improve, and apparently they're good live, so alright, not bad. I'll keep listening. Number 95, Roses by Benny Blanco and Juice WRLD featuring Brendon Urie.
Why did I fall for you? I gave it all for you.
The response I've seen among a lot of my peers to this song seems to be universal mockery. I mean, who the hell told Brendon Urie it would be a good idea to team up with Benny Blanco and Juice WRLD? That just seems like the wrong-headed decision in every possible direction. Now, granted, Benny Blanco did manage to put together some quality with Eastside, so I did want to give this a chance, and that was a mistake. First off, if Benny Blanco thought this was a good idea to swamp out the bass that badly, he was wrong, especially against the weak melody and cheap trap percussion. And for another, who the hell thinks that Juice WRLD and Brendon Urie have any chemistry here? The best way I can describe Urie's performance, which Benny Blanco seems to swamp out for no good reason, especially on his verse, he's phoning it in, which means that the biggest personality becomes Juice WRLD on this song for another gross breakup song filled with either cliches or lines that undercut the entire track. If you're so broken-hearted, why are you bragging about getting head in the second line of your verse, or saying that you want this new girl to pop it like a zit? Gross. Again, I'm not pulling back on this kid having a lot of ugly and really gross attitudes about women expressed in a really slapdash and amateurish way, and the fact that Brendon Urie felt this was worth his time to co-sign it? No. I'm sorry, this is trash in every single way. Pretty much everybody besides the artist know it. Let's move on. Number 93, Solo de Mi by Bad Bunny.
Ya tú lo sabes que yo no estoy ni un poquito pa' ti. Yeah, yeah.
So I mentioned that Bad Bunny may have gotten a boost thanks to his album dropping around the holidays, which also happens to be getting some suspiciously good reviews. So I'll admit a little bit of cautious optimism going into it, and you know what? I will give him a little bit of credit for having a bit more going on with this song to your average reggaeton track, with the more restrained opening hooks and the verse playing off the muted pianos before doing a sharp transition to a sharper, clinking reggaeton trap vibe, showing a progression of a breakup from melancholic regret to just some contempt and real anger. The big problem here is that Bad Bunny might be one of the least likable reggaeton acts in his content that I've ever covered on this show, and between the sullen finger pointing at the first verse and how he says that he will shit on the mother that bore you on the second. Okay, look, I could be wrong with that translation, but even from the position of a sullen breakup, this just looks ugly as all hell. Who wants to identify with this? So yeah, I see what the song was at least trying to do. It's a little bit more ambitious, but I can't vibe to it. Next, number 92, Burnout by Midland.
That's the cigarette can burn out.
So do any of you remember that lengthy special comment I made surrounding Midland way back in 2017, and how it seemed like their buzz just completely evaporated not long after? Okay, look, I can't claim any responsibility for that, but it is a little bit surprising that they notched another single here, especially as it's from that 2017 album. But hey, as a country group, their production approach was at least going in the right direction, so how is this? Honestly, as a country song, I'm inclined to like it. It's got the feel of a mid-90s neo-traditional cut with plentiful pedal steel sinking into the drained exhaustion of getting strung along in a relationship with a lot of cigarettes and alcohol, but it doesn't seem really quite ready to take the next step to really click more in the writing. Hell, that might just be my continuous issue with Midland as a whole. Pretty likable in a lot of their retro tone and texture, but not really a lot of meat beneath it that you would expect for those tones. And if this band was playing 25 years ago instead of now, I'm not sure anybody in country would be praising them. Still, likable enough song. Neo-traditional country is something I gravitate towards, so I guess if this sticks around, I wouldn't quite complain. Not bad. Number 91, Here Tonight by Brett Young.
Just stay here tonight.
So So honest question, did anybody really notice that Brett Young put out his second album about a month or so back? I mean, I don't say that to be snide, as this guy's had some respectable hits on the Hot 100, but the buzz seemed pretty muted, and even though I had reason to hope that Here Tonight would be decent, it was co-written by Charles Kelly of Lady Antebellum for God's sake, I did not have high expectations. And sadly, I don't think I got much off those expectations here either, especially lyrically as a pretty by-the-numbers love song. I guess the hook's got us some solid enough rollic, and when the choppier acoustic guitars come in for the back half of the hook, I can't complain much. At least some of the percussion feels more organic, but it also sounds way flimsier and thinner than it should, and those backing vocals don't match well with Brett Young at all. But I think the larger problem is that without some of the warmer, organic tones backing Brett Young's vocals, there's just very little to distinguish his husky timbre from the rest of the mainstream Nashville dudes. Yeah, he's got a little bit more organic groove to the song, but beyond that, there's just not much to this track. And I honestly think that Charles Kelly could have at least made this feel a little bit more distinctive or passionate. As it is, again, not bad, but pretty forgettable. I'll skip it most times. Number 87, Body by Loud Luxury featuring Brando. Well, sure as hell didn't expect to see this on the Hot 100. I'm gonna keep this short, as longtime followers of Billboard Breakdown probably remember me talking about the song as a world hit about 3 months ago, with a distinctive Canadian flavor in its lyrics and the piano-driven, honking EDM bounce. And keep in mind, it was a huge song up here. It broke our top 10, but I will readily admit it's not quite enough to really make it stand out beyond that in the scene, especially given how clipped it can feel at points. Still, I can really groove to this. It was a big thing up here. I still like it. Decent tune. Check it out. Number 86, Ruin My Life by Zara Larsson.
I want you to fuck my nights, yeah, fuck my nights, yeah, all of my nights, yeah.
You know, it's funny. I've been stuck on the side of defending Zara Larsson more often than not, mostly because her debut album is really great and definitely underrated, and she's had a string of singles and collaborations in recent years that I like a fair bit, like Never Forget You with MNEK, or Lush Life, or Symphony with Clean Bandit. But she struggled to pick up traction stateside, and this lead-off single is her newest attempt to get there for her third album, and man, I hope this doesn't catch on. Look, the biggest problem with Zara Larsson's writing is a lack of restraint in the right places, so maybe it's a bad thing to frame wanting to go back to an old flame as ruining her life, especially when the entire song is playing it very straight and romantic. It's the same damn issue I had with Ain't My Fault and how it can feel really oversold in the language. A really frustrating sentiment, because when on a compositional level, I actually kind of like most of this. The trap elements on the hook are well integrated, the wispy guitar touches, they add some good texture, and I like the melody. This song is impressively catchy if you can get into it. Shame it's not put to a better executed sentiment, which holds back a song that really should be better. Number 83, Love Wins by Carrie Underwood. Well, about time this hit the Hot 100, and me expressing that sentiment might be surprising because I was really hard on Carrie Underwood's last album, but there were good-ish songs there, and this was one of them. Mostly as it's kind of hard to avoid the feeling this is the sort of Christian-inflected pop country that can toe the line of being kind of hard to take seriously. I mean, seriously, Carrie Underwood, you're bringing out one of your best hooks in recent years, complete with a full backing choir and some real sweeping power for a give peace a chance message, because you believe love wins in the end, even though on the opening verse you're actively referencing school shootings. I'm sorry, it just feels really damn trite, completely unable or unwilling to grapple with the root cause in school shootings in favor of overblown sentiments that can't help but ring a little bit hollow, especially coming in recent years. I mean, if you're looking for big swelling anthems, Carrie Underwood can certainly deliver that, but let's not pretend this is saying anything that's all that meaningful on the subjects it's approaching. That's all I'm saying. Although I still kind of like it though. Number 82, Love Someone by Lukas Graham.
You probably never loved someone like I do.
Well, I didn't expect this guy to be making a comeback anytime soon. Now, for those of you who've forgotten, Lukas Graham was the singer-songwriter behind that song 7 Years from 2016 that I mostly liked. I went back to it, I still mostly do, but pretty much nobody else liked that song, and if you went back to his album, look, it didn't get better than that song, especially when Ed Sheeran made Castle on the Hill and basically replaced 7 Years altogether. And Lukas Graham also seemed like the sort of singer-songwriter who would not have much staying power stateside, not from an American market intended originally, and with the songwriting that could hit some bizarre notes that might have gotten some traction in the adult alternative scene 10 years ago, but certainly not now. And yet he and his self-titled band are back with this. And look, the biggest issue with Lukas Graham was his sense of egotism and hubris, which could kind of play into the bombast of 7 years, but absolutely does not work here, which is a song directed at his girlfriend and mother of his child, but then flips to look at the audience, you guys, and says, if you're not afraid to lose them, you've probably never loved someone like I do. I mean, I get the sentiment, but god man, talk about a jarring flip in the mood that's trying to be intimate and sensitive, and that's also where the song really doesn't work. Not only are the vocals really oversold and get really shrill, not really backing up that ego, but with the cheap clunky percussion and the thin guitar work, it's got the underweight sterile feel of a Shawn Mendes reject. Yeah, not a good sign. I get why this took so long to chart, and really, I have no need to see it stick around. Kinda don't expect it will. Number 80, Down to the Honky Tonk by Jake Owen.
Might not go down in history, but I'll go down to the honky tonk.
Okay, look, I'm trying to be supportive of Jake Owen here. The guy's got more charisma than pretty much anybody else in his subgenre of country, and while that flick of Jack and Diane tested everyone's patience, I was still mostly on board, even though I probably shouldn't have been. And now we have this song, and look, there's a limit to how annoyed I can be with this, because it's the definition of lightweight and goofy, and Jake Owen is more committed to loose organic groove and prominent pedal steel than most, even if the bridge slips in some drum machines when it really doesn't need to. I see what you're doing, Joey Moy. The song is already overmixed. Exercise some restraint for once in your goddamn career. But look, beyond that, there's some hilarious goofball detail for a song that is the definition of low stakes, and for as doofy as it can feel, I can't complain much about it. Its impressive likability keeps it passable, but I don't see this being the jumpstart that Jake Owen's been searching for in the past couple singles, which honestly, not a good sign. Number 76, What Makes You Country by Luke Bryan.
It might not have been you, but I can't judge, just be proud of what makes you country.
So I'll make this very clear. I have never liked this song. I didn't like the album, and this song was one of the reasons why. I didn't like the weird defensive stiffness in the groove. I didn't like how Luke Bryan was trying to define what country is by relying so heavily on clunky, checklist bro country songwriting that even in 2017 was sounding pretty stale and dated, and I really didn't like the utter failure of self-awareness that it was Luke Bryan and his ilk that helped propel the beat-driven, meat-headed, mono-genre gunk that's currently clogging up Nashville. And so just over a year later, when it's charting, yeah, nothing's changed. It's still mediocre at best, and even if Luke Bryan manages to smuggle in another hit with this song, I cannot support it. You know goddamn well what country is, Luke Bryan. You used to make it. Why don't you come back when you made some more? Number 75, Take It From Me by Jordan Davis.
You know what I want, I got what you need. Take it from me.
But on the flip side, if we're gonna be stuck with this instead, I might take Luke Bryan. And look, I thought as a society we had left Jordan Davis and Singles You Up back in 2018, an impressively irritating trap country fusion that also had the gall to assert that somebody was too city and that it wasn't him. So yeah, I expected this to suck. And yeah, for the most part, it really does. For one, Jordan Davis is trying to marry the limp vocal presence of someone like Walker Hayes with the over-synthesized grooves of Chris Lane, with nothing close to organic percussion or a good groove behind it, with entirely too much in the way of gurgling synth accents and oily vocal production off a choppy guitar line. It sounds like a Chase Rice song more than anything. I'm referencing all these forgotten bro country stars, and when was the last time you had heard that? This doesn't even sound like the Nashville Songwriting Machine in 2019. It sounds like a bad Disney Channel pop country knockoff from 2013. I guess the only thing positive that I can kinda say is that the lyrics are bland and not totally grating, but because they're so nondescript, you wind up focusing on the god-awful production. Make no mistake, this is exactly the sort of pop country playlist bait that could blow up in 2019, and the fact that it debuted this high above some legitimate country songs, this is the warning shot. So we don't want to see Meant to Be again, but sounding worse on every possible level. Shut this shit down. And finally, number 32, Baby Shark by Pinkfong. So, I guess we're doing this? We're doing this now, instead of 3 years ago? Well, fine. If this is gonna become a thing, might as well do it right, shall we? So, as all you undoubtedly know, thanks to your vigorous consumption of children's content, Baby Shark was a song that debuted in February of 2016 on the Pinkfong channel on YouTube, as you all know, where thanks to the algorithm it accrued billions of views and became the sort of, pardon the slander,
monstrously catchy meme
that only YouTube kids can properly generate. And much of the attention should be paid to the meme's illustrious pedigree, given the opening chords of the song owe a great deal to Jaws before shifting into a more bouncy tune, more accessible, and Jaws has been a meme sample for the needing of boats and the bigger thereof. But what's truly alarming about this meme's breakthrough is that Billboard suddenly deciding that this was actually a song worth placing on the Hot 100. And thanks to an uncommonly good sales week, Baby Shark has hatched onto the top 40, a spread of new, verdant wildlife that doesn't shy away from the culturally relevant importance of strong family dynamics and
rampant bloodshed.
And yet, while I must give Baby Shark its acclaim as a meme that has held the test of time since 2016, highlighting their vaunted prehistoric beasts in the vein of dinosaur yeets and SpongeGar, I must be highly critical of Billboard's failure to recognize this in a more timely fashion. Or to put it bluntly,
it's been 3 goddamn years, why in the 9 hells has this meme not died? I thought YouTube Rewind thoroughly euthanized and aborted this thing.
But nevertheless, let's rate this meme, shall we? 5 points for being a good animal meme, 5 more points for featuring 5 marine animals, 162 points for each enunciation of the word do, and 81 humor points for having 81 distinctive do pairs, as a do should always be rightly paired with another do. You know, as you do. However, I must subtract 28 points for each of the 28% of shark species at the risk of extinction, and another 200 points because of YouTube Rewind contamination. You really need to shut that shit down, get that out of here, and then a further 20 because at this point the meme is very stale or at the very least out of date. That said, this is a meme that can extend both backwards and forwards in time. So do I say it is a semi-quality meme, but not a bad meme? Remains catchy as sin. Even as I hear it playing, I might strangle all those children I do not have. And yeah, that was this week. A surprising amount of junk here, but really it's hard to deny that anything besides Roses by Benny Blanco, Juice WRLD, and Brendon Urie is the worst. Although, let's go to Dishonourable Mentions, going to Take It From Me by Jordan Davis. Again, let's not make that become a hit. Now for the best, you know, I prefer not to keep giving these to Billie Eilish. It's getting predictable, but I Don't Wanna Be You Anymore, it really is the best thing here. With honorable mention, you know, I'm gonna make it a tie between Burnout by Midland for being pretty uniformly solid but not great, and Love Wins by Carrie Underwood for annoying me with some of the lyrical content, but actually having a truly great hook. Next week, let's see how much of this will actually stick around, but till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.